not have a lot of like super good iron ore, so they got really good at using what they had. And they would fold those swords and hit them repeatedly to beat out impurities. And they would do something called differential tempering. So it's a little hard to see, but you'll see a line, kind of a wavy line on the edge. And they would coat it in clay so that the edge would cool down faster and create a harder edge. When the steel is too hard, it becomes brittle. So they would let the spine cool down slower, so you actually have something that is hard on the edge to keep a good edge and cut, and soft on the back to have better kind of like a chocolate function. And so the nice thing about this is kind of like karate or any other martial art, if you don't have good balance, you don't have a good weapon, essentially. And so what we do at our school is we start people with, I know it looks kind of silly, we start with pull moves. Hard to cut because it's pretty soft. But the thing is when you make a mistake, as all beginners do, you can't really hurt the sword too much, right? So it's kind of nice. You can see it's very sharp. Like it's super, super sharp. And yet, if my edge alignment isn't right, it won't cut. So this is really nice because you can't really hurt the sword, you can't really hurt yourself, and it gives you some good feedback. But it's so light that it doesn't act super realistic, right? And so what was interesting is in the Japanese medieval times, samurai didn't do a lot of test cutting because test cutting back then was about testing the sword. Did you get the heat treatment right? Is it sharp and shock resistant, right? And so they would actually have specialized servants that would do that. And so nowadays, we use tatami mats. This is a traditional Japanese tatami, you soak it in water, and think of this as like medieval Japanese ballistic jump. You kind of spike it. And now you have something that has a little bit more resistance. And nowadays, because we're in the modern times where none of us are running around getting into sword fights, now testing on tatami is more like breaking boards in karate, where we can check our focus, our kind of technique, our follow through, make sure that everything is correct. And so people will, once they've kind of gotten past the pull noodle stage, they'll start and they'll just kind of start out very basic. And we just want to see, did I get a nice clean cut? Did it mostly drop straight down and goes flying off in the distance, so you see a lot of like splinters? It probably wasn't a very good cut. And so once people have kind of gotten in their kind of basic stance and they practice a cut, then they can start practicing other angles. And we just want to see, that's kind of the four basics, right? It's called kesa. It actually follows the lines of the karate gi or like a road, right? It's called kesa. And so those diagonal cuts are kind of what we started everybody with. I'm gonna, water's not good for swords, so I kind of wipe this down in between. No, it's okay.
Mark makes those look easy. I did a sword cutting class with him. It's not. It's super hard. And like I've had some practice with a katana. That's the first time I ever cut. It is a lot harder than you think it is.
Than people think. Sometimes spiking the tatami is the hardest part. So one of the things Sensei mentioned Iaido. If you go to a modern Iaido school, what you're going to see are kata that usually start from the draw. This is fairly short as like a sword fight war would be. And so for the last 300 years of the samurai era, called the Edo period, if you were carrying a sword, it was much more likely you were in an urban environment. And so think of these later period samurais as like almost like the quick draw artists of the Old West. So one of the first katas you'll see is you'll start and you'll just start to take some steps. On the third step, you draw upward, cut, you kind of make sure no other bad guys are coming at you, flake off any gooey stuff if there is any, and then you put the sword away. And so that's how you practice in Iaido kata in the air. And then if you get a little bit more, you start to do, and then you can do this. So you kind of get to like learn how to apply your kata, just like with board breaking. Am I using my technique correctly? Am I drawing and cutting well? Am I, that's an okay cut. Like if I was a cutting competition, to be like, oh yeah, how do you go free edge right there? That's not perfect. Because that's kind of how we look at it. And I'm going to do some kind of fun cutting, because just like with board breaking, there's trick cutting, just like trick breaking and stuff.
He's talking about like trick breaking.
That if I mess up, it doesn't work. So I'm going to try to cut this, and then while it's hanging in the air, cut it again. Oh, it's down. Sometimes I can pull it off. I don't know. Obviously, being able to cut something well doesn't make you a good sword fighter, just like being able to bring a sword doesn't necessarily make you a good fighter. But being able to cut it does mean that you understand your tool, and being able to throw multiple cuts rapidly does mean that if you were in a match and you were swinging a bunch, your edge control doesn't go all over the place. So, I was nervous about that one. I'm pretty happy about that. Is a little bit more of the like, what if things go a little sideways? So we'll start a little further back. We'll start with the draw. And then we'll just. Can you do it fast and still have good cuts? Because if you can only do it very slow, then it's not super realistic. And again, hopefully I'm not going to get into a sword fight, but I would like to train as realistically as I can. I'll give you, one more. So, okay. So this one requires just a little pressure. So this is one of the cooler trick cuts. This is called, because it also has a cool thing, this is called a dragonfly cut. It feels very cool. So the thing is when the tatami isn't supported by a peg, if your edge alignment is off, then the thing will just flop, or even worse, it'll get golfed, right? Nothing is more embarrassing than hitting a target having it sail through the air. That, of course, has never happened to me ever. All right, I need to try one more, and we'll try one of those unsupported ones. This is my last one. All right, that one. We'll try it short again. All right, so this is one of those. It has no peg, so if I hit it wrong, it'll just flop. I just don't want to take it home. I will do my best. I feel like it happened one time, so yeah, no big deal.
Woo!